opening hook grabs immediate attention. Picture this. You're in a room full of people. Conversations flow, laughter echoes, but inside your mind, a silent battle rages. Am I saying the right things? Do they like me? What if they judge me? Your heart races as you adjust your words, your posture, your very presence, just to fit in. Now imagine something even more terrifying. What if, after all this effort, their approval still isn't enough? This invisible leash, the constant need for validation, isn't just holding you back, it's controlling you. And the worst part? You may not even realize it. The invisible chains. We carry from childhood. We are conditioned to seek approval. A gold star for good behavior. A pat on the back for following the rules. A smile when we meet expectations. We learn quickly. Acceptance equals safety. Rejection equals pain. But here's what nobody tells you. Chasing approval is a game you can never win. Why? Because the target keeps moving. One moment you're praised for being agreeable. The next you're criticized for not standing your ground. Society, family, friends. They all have different expectations, and you twist yourself into knots trying to meet them. But at what cost? Every time you bend to fit someone else's standards, you lose a piece of yourself. And slowly, without even noticing, you become a stranger in your own life. The psychological trap. Here's the truth most people ignore. The need for approval isn't about others. It's about fear. Your brain is wired for survival. Thousands of years ago, rejection from the tribe meant death. That's why even today, social rejection hurts. It triggers the same brain regions as physical pain. But here's the catch. We're no longer living in caves. We don't need a tribe to survive. Yet, we still act as if we do. So you hold back your opinions to avoid judgment. You follow the crowd to escape criticism. You live cautiously, afraid, to step out of line because deep down a part of you still fears exile. But ask yourself, is that really living? The approval illusion. The truth is, the approval you crave is an illusion. No matter how much you get, it never truly satisfies. Because the moment you win validation, another expectation appears. Another standard to meet. Another person to impress. So, the question isn't, how do I get people to approve of me? The real question is, why do I need them to? And once you start asking that, you begin to see the cage for what it truly is, an illusion you no longer need to be trapped in. Opening hook, captivating start. There's a hidden cost to seeking approval. And the price? Your freedom. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no? How often have you swallowed your words, adjusted your behavior, or hid parts of yourself just to be accepted? At first, it seems harmless. A small compromise here, a little silence there. But over time, these tiny sacrifices add up. And before you know it, you're living a life that isn't yours. Approval seeking doesn't just affect what you do, it affects who you become, and the cost of that? It's higher than you ever imagined. The loss of your true self. When you constantly chase approval, you become a shapeshifter, molding yourself to fit what others expect. You agree when you don't mean it. You follow trends you don't care about. You stay quiet when your heart screams to speak. But here's the harsh reality. If you spend your life pleasing others, you'll wake up one day not knowing who you really are. What do you want? What do you believe? Who would you be if nobody was watching? These are the questions approval seekers never ask, because they're too busy being who the world wants them to be. Fear becomes. Your master seeking approval is like living inside an invisible prison. The walls are made of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of not being enough. So you stay within the limits of what's acceptable. You don't take risks. You don't speak up. You don't chase dreams that might fail. Because Failure means judgment, and judgment feels unbearable. But what's worse, being judged or never living at all. 3. You hand over your power. Every time you base your worth on someone else's opinion, you give them power over you. And here's the brutal truth. People's opinions change. One day they praise you. The next, they tear you down. And if your self-worth is tied to their approval, your confidence will rise and fall like a puppet on strings. But why let them decide your value? Why give them the keys to your happiness? The uncomfortable truth. No matter what you do, someone will disapprove. Someone will criticize. Someone will find fault. And that means you might as well do what makes you truly happy. Because the real tragedy isn't being disliked. It's living a life that isn't yours. Opening hook, compelling start. What if starting today, you stopped seeking approval? What if you spoke your mind without hesitation? What if you pursued your dreams without fear of judgment? What if you lived for you, fully, unapologetically? Sounds impossible, right? But here's the truth. Freedom from approval isn't a fantasy. It's a choice. And that choice begins the moment you decide that your opinion of yourself matters more than anyone else's. So how do you get there? How do you break free from a habit that's been controlling you for years? Let's start with the first step. Step 1. Recognize the lie's approval-seeking thrives on illusions. The illusion that, if people like you, you'll be happy. If you please everyone, you'll feel safe. If you're accepted, you'll finally be enough. But none of these are true. Happiness isn't found in approval. It's found in authenticity. Safety doesn't come from people-pleasing. It comes from self-trust. And your worth? It was never something that needed validation. Once you recognize these lies, they lose their power over you. Step 2. Detach from external validation. Most people live as if their worth is a mirror, reflecting back whatever others think of them. But here's the secret. The mirror is an illusion. People's opinions of you are shaped by their own biases, fears, and insecurities. Their approval isn't about you, it's about them. So why let their shifting, unreliable judgments define your self-worth? Instead, start asking, am I proud of who I am? Am I living in alignment with my values? Am I staying true to myself, even when it's hard? These are the only validations that matter. Step 3. Learn to say no. Without guilt, one of the biggest signs of an approval seeker? They say yes when they want to say no. It's time to change that. The next time someone asks something of you, pause. Ask yourself, do I actually want this? If the answer is no, then say it. Without guilt. Without over-explaining. Without fear. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. But over time, you'll realize something powerful. The world doesn't end when you disappoint people. In fact, it gets better because you finally start living on your terms. Step 4. Embrace rejection as freedom. Most people fear rejection. But rejection is not your enemy. It's your filter. Every time someone disapproves of you, it's just life showing you where you don't belong. Instead of fearing it, embrace it. Rejection isn't failure. It's clarity. Because the moment you stop chasing approval is the moment you start attracting the right people, the right opportunities, and the right life. Opening hook, powerful start. Imagine waking up tomorrow with zero fear of judgment. No more second-guessing your words. No more adjusting yourself to fit in. No more craving approval that never truly satisfies. Just you, fully, freely, and unapologetically yourself. That life isn't just possible. It's waiting for you. And the moment you step into it, everything changes. But here's the truth. Becoming unapologetically you isn't about being rebellious or disregarding others. It's about stepping into the truest version of yourself, without hesitation, without guilt, without fear. Most people never reach this place. They spend their lives dancing to the rhythm of expectation, measuring their worth by how others see them. But you You're about to take a different path. The path of freedom, the path of self-trust, the path of living for you. So how do you get there? Let's begin. Owning your identity. The most powerful people in the world, the ones who shape history, lead movements, and create lasting impact, have one thing in common. They don't seek approval. They don't water themselves down. They don't apologize for their truth. They don't let opinions dictate their choices. And ironically, that's exactly what makes them so magnetic. Think about the figures you admire, the ones who challenge norms, break barriers, and stand firm in who they are. They are not liked by everyone. In fact, some are hated for being different, but that's precisely why they are remembered. Because deep down, people don't respect those who beg for approval. They respect those who stand firm in their identity, without fear, without hesitation. Now ask yourself, who would I be if I wasn't afraid of disapproval? Whatever that answer is, be that person starting today. Silencing the inner critic. Often, the loudest voice of disapproval isn't from others. It's from yourself. That voice that whispers, what if they don't like me? What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? It's been holding you back for far too long. But here's the truth. That voice is not you. It's just an echo of past fears, past conditioning, past insecurities, and it only has power if you listen. So the next time it speaks, don't fight it, ignore it. Move forward anyway. Because confidence isn't about never hearing self-doubt. It's about never obeying it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to be authentic. The right people will appreciate you for it, and the wrong ones, they were never meant to stay. Breaking free from guilt. One of the hardest parts of becoming unapologetically you is letting go of guilt. For years, you've been taught to prioritize others' expectations, to be agreeable, to avoid making people uncomfortable. And when you finally start living for yourself, the guilt creeps in. Am I being selfish? What if they get upset? What if they don't like the real me? But here's what you must understand. There is nothing selfish about honoring yourself. Your needs, dreams, and values matter just as much as anyone else's. And if someone makes you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself, that says more about them than it does about you. It's not your job to live up to others' expectations. It's not your job to shrink yourself to make them comfortable. Your only job is to be true to yourself, and those who genuinely care about you will respect that. Learning to disappoint people, and why it's okay. Most approval seekers have one deep-rooted fear: disappointing others. They stay in careers they hate because their family expects it. They hold back opinions to avoid conflict. They say yes when they want to scream no. But here's something no one tells you. Disappointing others is part of living authentically. It's impossible to meet everyone's expectations, and the harder you try, the more you lose yourself. So instead of fearing disappointment, embrace it. Let it be a sign that you're staying true to yourself. Because every time you choose your truth over someone's approval, you reclaim your freedom. Yes, some people may not like the real you, but the ones who do, they will appreciate you on a level you've never experienced before. Because real connections aren't built on pleasing others. They're built on honesty. Rejection is a filter, not a failure. Most people fear rejection. They see it as proof that they aren't good enough, worthy enough, or likable enough. But rejection isn't failure, it's clarity. Every time someone rejects you, it's the world showing you where you don't belong. It's life filtering out the wrong people, the wrong opportunities, the wrong paths. So instead of fearing rejection, embrace it. Let it guide you toward where you do belong. Because when you stop fearing rejection, you unlock a new level of freedom. You start making decisions based on what feels right for you, not on what will keep people happy. And that's when you start attracting the right people, the right opportunities, and the right life. The power of living without apology. There is nothing more liberating than living without apology, speaking your mind without fear, choosing your own path without guilt, loving who you are without conditions. And the best part? When you stop chasing approval, you start attracting the right people. The ones who truly value you, not for what you give, but for who you are. People pleasers attract takers, but those who stand in their truth, they attract real connections, real respect, real fulfillment. So stop apologizing for who you are. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Stop begging for approval that never truly satisfies. You don't need permission to be yourself. You never did. The final truth. At the end of your life, no one else's opinion will matter. Not the approval you chased, not the validation you sought, not the people you tried to impress. The only thing that will matter is this. Did you truly live? And the I answer to that question starts now. Because you don't need approval. You don't need validation. You don't need permission. You only need one thing, the courage to be yourself. Final line, unforgettable CTA. Stop seeking approval. Start seeking freedom. Because the moment you let go is the moment you finally become unstoppable.